regarding the PTSD that you had to deal with, how intense was that? Because I know you said like in the book that there was a lot of nights that you couldn't sleep, a lot of sleepless nights. You know, how long did it take you to kind of get a grip on that and not always have like these flashbacks and these nightmares that you have to deal with?
Well, even up until today, I still have, in the last year, I've had one nightmare where my wife had to wake me up and a few very minor ones right around when the book came out. It wasn't up until I'd say about a year ago, I finally got things kind of under control. And when it was getting good for a while, and then I'd have slip ups and it's just started going again. And even up until, last year, I was sleeping sometimes maybe 12 hours a week total. It was just constantly nightmare after nightmare. I tried several different therapies. We found the triggers throughout the process. One was like the sound when someone takes an ice tray out and cracks an ice tray. That sounds like your skull being crushed. And so that would put me into a flashback. I worked at a slaughterhouse, so I wasn't able to smell for a long time. And then while working at the slaughterhouse, I was walking down the auger hallway and I smelled blood. And unbeknownst to me, that was a trigger. So I go right into a flashback at that moment because the sense of blood, the smell of blood triggered it. So it took a couple of years, but we found a majority of the triggers, and I knew how to avoid them. And I knew if I was gonna, go get a tray of ice, that hey, I'm in a safe place. I'm just getting cold drinks. It's not a big deal, right? It's not what I think it is. So you're able to help control it. Then it was getting good, and then it got really, really bad. Random things like just stress. I kept a journal on diary, the amount of sleep I had, the what I ate, how much sleep, how stressful was the day, and then what my nightmares were about, just to help find the triggers and the patterns, and so I can avoid them or prepare myself for them. And then about a year ago, I got home early from work and I fell asleep on the couch watching TV, and my wife wasn't home yet, so she come home from work and picked up our daughter, and they come in, and of course my wife didn't know I was sound asleep on the couch. My daughter sees my truck, she's excited, so she comes running into the living room, and well, when I sleep, my eyes don't close. This is my eyes closed.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow, really? Oh.
So
because you don't have the...
It's great for babysitting, but not so much for sleeping.
Okay. Wow.
So I'm laying on the couch, and of course I'm out, and my eyes are slightly open. So my daughter thinks I'm awake, and what does a 2.5, 3-year-old like to do, right? Well, they come around and jump on you, and so, and at this point in time, if you wanted to wake me up, you had to squeeze my feet, and like, hey, wake up, like you're in a safe place. In other words, you'd put me into a flashback. You would touch my shoulders and my chest. It just instant. I'd be right in, to a moment fighting the bears. So she comes running in, jumps on me, and I'm sound asleep. And then I go straight into a flashback, and I got to grab my daughter, and I threw her across the room, and here I am, flailing and trying to fight. My wife is trying to hold me back, trying to help her daughter, because she got hurt pretty good, and I just remember waking up to being covered in blood, and my wife crying, my daughter just screaming and crying, and I'm so confused. I don't know what's going on. I'm thinking there's a bear there, and it's coming back, and I got to get everybody out of there, and and I can't move, and it just wasn't a very fun time. That was probably the lowest point. I knew that I needed more help, and I talked to my therapist right away and made appointments, and we needed to take this a step further, and we looked at some different treatments. Tried ART, Auxiliary Resolution Therapy, is where they use rapid eye movement and voluntary imagery placement. And she's like, we should give this a try. And I'm like, I'm in. I want to, you got to keep trying something till you find something that works. And even though the therapist will give you treatments and you're working at it, it may not fix it right away. And it may need several different styles or different types of treatments, but they are working, and just at some point in time, they'll all come together. And it's just an overwhelming feeling when everything connects, right? And So I did the one session of ART, and that 45 minutes, basically what they do is these rapid eye movement. They wave a hand in front of your face, and they have you replay this scene in your head of what happened. And of course, when they're first sitting there waving the hand in front of your face, you're just like, what kind of voodoo bullshit is this? Like,
Yeah, me too.
it's so hard, right? Like, you're like, what is this going to do, right? But if you have that mentality, it's not going to help you.
Right.
And it took all I could do is just to say, like, well, what I'm doing right now is not working. I need to trust them because they're trying to help me, and I need to really focus on what they're trying to tell me to do. And so that 45-minute session was probably the hardest one, and just trying to stay focused and trust them. But that was the first time in 4 years I was able to sleep for more than 7 hours straight without any nightmares.
That's great. Yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So it did have a good impact.
Huge. I mean, it's a life changer. This last year has just been. It was April of last year that I went to did the ART. So now it's a little over a year, and it's just been perfect. Like it's awesome.
So your sleep continues to improve since then, or do you have some bad nights? I guess kind of like any other person would have some good and bad nights for sure.
Yeah, I've had 4 that I know of. There was right around when the book came out. I had some pretty bad ones. Well, not pretty bad. They woke me up, but didn't wake my wife up. And that was because in the book, there's some things in the book that I talked about that I've never told anybody. Like, no one knew that I tried to commit suicide on the side of the hill. There's a lot of details in the book that were released that I wasn't ready to share, and I didn't want people to know about. Like asking for psychiatric help, that's a strength, not a weakness, and be able to come out and say that, like, hey, like, I needed extra help, I needed this help, and to admit that, you tried to end it. I mean, that's pretty hard to say or even talk about. I mean, it's easier now.
Yeah, I'm sure it's always hard. Yeah, just to touch upon that, mental health aspect a little more. I know we kind of briefly touched upon it earlier, but what would you say to people that, might be going through something, maybe not as traumatic as what you went through or whatever they're, going through in life, like, and let's say they refuse to go ahead and get help because they're afraid or they're embarrassed. Like, what would you say to those people and encourage them to make the steps and find help?
Don't be afraid. Like, they're just trying to help you out. In order for you to help somebody else out, you got to help yourself. Like, I know guys are supposed to be tough and look after their family and be the man and not admit weaknesses and that. But you can't look after your family if you're not mentally fit. You need to get mentally fit first before you can actually look after somebody else. It's like when you're in an airplane and they tell you about the masks. When the masks come down, you should put your mask on first before helping others. Well, same way with your mental health. You got to treat yours first and make sure you're mentally fit before helping somebody else.
Yeah, that's a good analogy for sure.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah.
But also, like, your point of, like, us men who, rarely ask for that help, don't want to cry or don't want to, express our hardships because, we need to put on that mask and carry on. But, that is so true that it's not, your physical capability of being this big dude or macho dude who can, do anything or fight any threat, but it's having that mental, sharpness and clearness and confidence in yourself to be able to handle any threat. Because if you start panicking, then whatever strength you have, it's not gonna help you, right?
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, it's pretty hard to admit when you're a guy that fights bears and you're this big tough guy, and all of a sudden here you are crying in the corner getting psychiatric help, right? Like it's hard to admit, but I tell you, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I definitely wouldn't be as, I'd be in a way worse situation.
Yeah.
I think you deserve that help for sure. I mean, there's no shame in that.
No, none at all.
I mean, for sure. Yeah. So I think it's important to, not disregard the mental health, right? I mean, everyone always focuses on the physical health and, staying in shape, whatever. But if your mind is not there, if your mind's not in the right place, then your body's also going to suffer in consequence.